Hello everybody and welcome to the Hidden Breach in our 8th Malifaux 3rd edition battle report. My name is Hagen, I am your host for today's show as always, and we are watching Stefan and Annika do battle in the matchup Zoraida vs Jedza, as somebody named Viruks voted for in our Make a Wish for a Battle report video from last year. So Viruks, you beast of a painter, there you go, your wish has come true. You will see the Battle of Grannies as we are jumping into crew selection and the scenario.
If you haven't already, go to Viruks' Instagram page and check out his awesome paint jobs. Also, you can see him painting live on the PlayWyrd channel. The links are in the show notes. Today's scenario. We are playing standard deployment, our strategy is corrupted LeyLines, and our schemes are as follows. We have breakthrough, detonate charges, deathbeds, hidden martyrs, and outflank. Crew selection, attacker first. Stefan is playing Zoraida, the henchman the first mate, the henchman Bad Juju with the upgrade Inhuman Reflexes, the henchman McTavish, the versatile enforcer Mysterious Emissary, and Engatro Bokor. Stefan takes 5 Soulstones with him into the game. Annika as defender is playing Jedza, her totem Sophie, her henchman Mikhail, the enforcer Tannenbaum, the enforcer The Damned, the enforcer Austira and Twig, the enforcer Grave Goo, and finally as a minion a Moor Wraith. Annika takes 7 Soulstones with her into the game.
Here's an overview over today's terrain. Got a little ruined area in the bottom left of our map, which is played as impassable terrain. Then we got one little house, which is height 4 blocking impassable. We got the river that is printed onto our map. The whole river is played as severe terrain, and here where the stepping stones are, models can pass without penalty. And at both bridges and at this little bridge on the bottom right, all those bridges are height 1, blocking climbable terrain. All trees that you see on the map are played as concealing terrain. We got 2 little rock formations, one next to each bridge. Both rock formations are played as height 3, blocking climbable terrain. On the left side of our map, we got the magic portal in the woods, which is played as severe concealing terrain. Top left of the map, we got another ruined area, which is played as severe concealing terrain as well. On the top right of our map, we got the house at the lake, which is turned into the house at the swamp. The house at the swamp is height 4, blocking impassable terrain. The walkways around it are height 1, blocking climbable terrain, and the swamp itself is severe terrain. And after all, we got the magnificent centerpiece of today's board, which is the Wizard's Tower, which I thought would be smaller, but well, you never know. Wizard's Tower is blocking height infinite impassable terrain. Both bridge sides are height 4, blocking climbable terrain, why not? And the stairs are played as stairs. Then I will see you at deployment.
Welcome to deployment. Stefan, as attacker, chose to deploy on the bottom side of the map. Because of Scout Ahead from Austira and Twig, Annika could pick one model to immediately deploy, so she picked the first mate. Then she picked the half of Stefan's crew with Zoraida, Bad Juju and the Engatro Bokor to deploy. So here you can see from right to left, Bad Juju, Zoraida, the first mate and the Engatro Bokor. Afterwards, Annika deployed her whole crew. Austira and Twig are next to the strategy marker on the top left. A bit to the right is the Damned, and further over to the right is the Bubble of Life with Sophie, Tannenbaum, Mikhail, Jedza herself, the Moor Wraith and the Grave Goo. And last but not least, Stefan could deploy the rest of his models, so McTavish and the Mysterious Emissary decided to do an outflank maneuver and are on the left side of his deployment zone. Handcards for the Zoraida crew round 1. And here are the handcards for the Jedza crew round 1. Initiative flip for round 1. Annika wins out with 13 to Stefan's 5, and Annika decides that Stefan should begin. He activates Bad Juju, who takes a walk action, and then takes a concentrate action to gain a focus. Annika starts off with Sophie, who does grab from the pack on Mikhail, and passes with a 12, so Mikhail gets a focus. Then she uses Camp by Candlelight, and passes with an 8 and uses the inbuilt long rest trigger to suffer 2 damage and give Jedza a life token. And lastly, she interacts for a ski marker. Stefan goes with the Emissary and applies his by now tried and tested concept of taking a walk action and then using a concentrate action for a focus. The Moor Wraith goes into the fray and takes a double walk action, gains shielded +1 because he comes into basic contact with the Wizard's Tower. Stefan activates McTavish, who is on the move, so he can move 3 inches. Then McTavish takes a walk action and immediately draws his long carbine to shoot Ostera. He wins out 16 to 8 and Annika cheats in 16 to 17, so the attack fails. Then McTavish tries to make a swarm screen marker and passes with a 10. Ostera and Twig activate and take a double walk action towards the bridge in the middle, and then they use their bonus action Aerial Strike against McTavish. They win 17 to 6 and Stefan cheats for 17 to 14, so the negative flip does weak damage of 1. Stefan plays a pass token, so Annika is forced to activate Jedza. Jedza uses a Weary Road on Mikhail, so he moves 3 and drops a ski marker. Then Jedza takes a double walk action towards the middle and uses Lost Knowledge on the ski marker in her own deployment zone. She fails with a 4, but Annika cheats in a 7, so she discards the ski marker and draws 2 cards. Stefan activates Zoraida and uses Threads of Fate immediately, so both players discard their hand cards, and here you can see their new hand cards. And then he uses Hex versus Ostera and Twig via the Gatrobo core. He wins 19 to 16 and the double negative flip does weak damage of 2 plus injured +1. Then he uses the same skill again. He wins out 17 to 5. Annika cheats for 17 to 13, so the double negative flip does weak damage of 2 again and an injured. And finally he uses Hex again, wins 7 to 6. Annika cheats 7 to 14. And Stefan cheats 17 to 14 and the double negative flip again does weak damage of 2 and an injured. And at the end of her activation, the Raider ditches a card to summon the Voodoo Doll. Gravego activates, walks into base contact with the strategy marker, gains 1 shielded and then concentrates for a focus. The first mate activates, takes a walk action and then immediately charges Ostera and Twig. The attack hits with 19 to 7, Annika decides not to cheat, and Stefan declares the Pouncing Strike trigger. The straight flip does moderate damage of 4 and Ostera and Twig end their short life. And then the first mate jumps over to Jedza and hits her with the free attack from Pouncing Strike. The duel ends 15 to 16, but Stefan cheats for 19 to 16 to hit and the double negative flip does weak damage of 2. Then the first mate takes a leap and passes to jump on top of the bridge. Annika activates Mikhail, who takes a walk action, and then uses his Shockwave and Tomb to shoot a Shockwave marker onto the bridge. He passes with a 12, and the first mate fails the duel. Stefan cheats an 8 to pass the duel, so nothing really happens. Stefan activates the Voodoo Doll, who takes a walk action, and then uses Jinx on Mikhail. The duel ends 16 to 7 in favor of the Voodoo Doll, and Annika cheats 16 to 12. The negative flip draws the Black Joker, so no damage applies, but Mikhail still gets uninjured. Annika activates Tannenbaum, who takes a walk action and then a concentrate action for a focus. Stefan uses a pass token and so does Annika, so Stefan is forced to activate the Gatrobo core, who takes a walk action and then uses Swarm Spirits against Mikhail and loses the duel. The Damned activates and takes a leap which he passes. Then he uses Breath of Frost against the first mate but loses the duel. The second Breath of Frost attack hits 18 to 10 and the straight flip does moderate damage of 3. And Annika decides not to drop an Ice Pillar marker. Summary of turn 1. Zoraida crew went forward a bit, Mysterious Emissary and McTavish on the left side. The Gatrobo core is in the middle and Zoraida is still on her rock Bad Juju next to the strategy marker. The first mate has jumped onto the bridge in the middle. Ostera and Twig got killed by the combined efforts of Zoraida and the first mate, because they were somewhat far ahead of the rest of their crew. The Bubble of Life is still standing strong and has went more towards the middle of the map. And the Gravego is hanging out at the top right strategy marker. So let's jump right into the action in round 2 of this game. Zoraida's hand cards for round 2 and Jedza's hand cards for round 2. Initiative flip for round 2. Stefan wins 8 to 1. Annika decides not to cheat and Stefan decides to begin. He activates the Mysterious Emissary, who takes a walk action and then uses Roots from Below onto the dam using his focus. The duel ends 16 to 8 and the straight flip, because of focus, does weak damage of 2, but Stefan cheats moderate damage for 3 damage and a blast marker, so Mikhail gets damaged by 2, which gets reduced by 1 due to his armor. Then Stefan can drop a hungry land marker instead of the blast marker. He also had the quicksand trigger, so both the damned and Mikhail have to do a movement 15 duel or gain slow. The damned fails with a 2 and Mikhail fails with a 10, so both get slow. Then the mysterious emissary activates the Aura of Deception but fails with a 1. Annika activates Sophie, who takes a walk action and then uses Grab from the pack onto the Grave Goo and succeeds. And then she uses Camp by Candlelight with the inbuilt long rest trigger. Stefan activates McTavish, who is again on the move and then takes a walk action and then decides that he wants to shoot the damned. The duel ends 15-9. Annika cheats for 15-18 and Stefan cheats for 18-18 to draw with the Maim trigger. The triple negative flip draws 4 cards and the Black Joker, so there's no damage for the damned, and Annika discards a 1. Then McTavish tries to do a Swarm Screen marker again and succeeds with another 10. Annika activates Jedza, who uses plenty of wares on the damned, but fails. Annika cheats a 6 of tomes for the purification trigger and the damned gets healed by 2 and loses his slow. Then Annika uses Lost Knowledge on the hungry land marker and draws the red joker, declaring the trigger to give the emissary staggered. She removes the hungry land marker and draws 2 cards. Then she uses her bonus action, Weary Road, onto the damned, who gets to walk 3 inches and drops a ski marker into base contact with himself. And then he attacks the first mate with Drain Life. The duel ends 18-16 and the negative flip does weak damage of 2. The pulled here and there trigger allows Annika to move the first mate by 3 inches and she decides to pull him off the bridge, so he takes fall damage of 2 because the bridge is height 4. Stefan uses a Soulstone to reduce the damage from the original attack and draws weak, so reduces by 1, and the first mate overall takes 3 damage. Also Jedza heals by 2 because of Drain Life, so the Chronicles of the Moor Wraith allow him to move 2 inches towards Jedza, and Sophie draws a card and discards a card. Stefan activates the freshly fallen first mate, who uses Menacing Croak and passes with an 11 of Mask with the Always Eating trigger, which does nothing at the moment. So everybody within range has to take a Willpower 14 duel or get distracted +1. Jedza passes with a 10, Mikhail fails with a 4 but cheats a 9 to succeed, and the damned fails with a 2 but cheats a 13 to succeed. Then the first mate uses Leap and passes with the 11 of Mask. He jumps back towards his own line and uses a Concentrate action for a focus. The damned activates and charges McTavish. The attack hits 12-9, McTavish cheats 12-17, but Annika cheats 19-17 with the critical strike trigger. The negative flip does weak damage of 3, and Stefan uses a Soulstone to reduce the damage by 2. Then the damned attacks again, fails with 13-16, but then Annika cheats 19-16 to hit, and the negative flip this time draws moderate damage of 4. Gatrobo Core activates and uses healing energy onto the first mate, passes with a 13, and the first mate heals 3 to 6 health again. Then he uses healing energy again and passes with another 13, but he cheats the 11 of Crows for the Deja Vu trigger. The first mate heals another 1, and Stefan discards a card to draw 2 other cards. And then the Gatrobo Core tries to use Protective Spirits but fails with a 4, so Stefan cheats in a 6 to succeed, and the emissary and the first mate both get shielded +1. The Grave Goo activates, throws the marker over to the Moor Wraith and takes a walk action around the Withered Tower. Zoraida activates and uses Obey onto the first mate, who relents. She passes with a 7 and the first mate uses a walk action to get further onto the left side of the board. Then Zoraida uses Threads of Fate and you can here see the new hand cards of both players. Then she uses Obey onto Bad Juju, who relents and passes with a 7 of Masks, so she gets the Ensorcel trigger and Bad Juju gets to do 2 actions, which he uses to take a double walk action and stand next to the Grave Goo. As her last AP, Zoraida uses Hex onto the Damned and hits 13-6, but Annika cheats 13-7 for the attack to fail. Mikhail activates and takes a walk action, then uses Shrug Off, discarding a card to lose the slow. And then he uses his Shockwave and Tomb. He passes with a 6 and gets the Blown Back trigger. The ensuing movement 12 duel is failed by the emissary with a 1, so he gets 1 damage. The first mate passes with an 8 and the Gatrobo Core passes with the red joker. Bad Juju activates and uses Ambush, discarding a card to move by 3. And then he uses a walk and a charge to get to Sophie and try to hit her with his uprooted fists, but he fails 10-13. Tannenbaum goes, uses a walk action, and then uses Ancient Words with his focus on McTavish. He hits 9 to 8. Stefan cheats 9 to 10 for the attack to fail, and Annika cheats 15 to 10 with the trigger. Stefan uses reading the cards and lets Annika keep her card, though the straight flip draws the black joker. Because of the trigger, she still gets to push McTavish towards a marker. Lastly, Tannenbaum uses his bonus action Comprehensive Notes against McTavish and succeeds 15 to 14. So Annika decides for Stefan to put all of his 4 13s out of the game. The 4 13s will rejoin his discard pile at the start of the next round. Voodoo Doll goes and uses Jinx onto the Bokor, who relents. The double negative flip does weak damage of 1 and gives the Bokor 1 injured, a glowy token and fast. Then the doll uses Jinx on Mikhail, hits 13 to 13, but Annika cheats 13 to 14 for the attack to fail. Stefan decides that it has served its purpose, so he kills off the Voodoo Doll and draws a card. The Moor Wraith activates and takes a double walk action towards the middle strategy marker to get into base contact and score. Summary of turn 2. First mate has decided to retreat after getting a beating in the middle and got healed up again by his crew. Mysterious Emissary, the Gatrobokor and Zoraida are still hanging more back towards their own deployment zone, but Juju walked all around the Wizard's Tower toward the top right strategy marker to score there. The Grave Goo is on one side of the Wizard's Tower, on his way towards an yet unknown goal. Kyle, Moorwraith, Jedza and Sophie are in the middle, while more to the left, Tannenbaum and the Damned are trying to take care of McTavish. Points-wise, both players get a point for the strategy because they both marked 2 strategy markers yet. Stefan the one on the bottom right and top right, and Annika the one on the top right and in the middle. And at this point in time, nobody wants to declare a scheme, so we're jumping right into round 3. Hand cards of round 3 for the Zoraida crew, and Stefan uses a Soulstone to draw these 2 cards and discard these 2 cards. And here are the cards for the Jedza crew, and Annika decides to do the same as Stefan, so she spends a Soulstone to draw 2 cards and discard 2 cards. Initiative flip for round 3. Annika wins with 8 to 4. Stefan does not cheat, so Annika decides to begin. The Damned activates, concentrates for a focus, and immediately charges McTavish. He hits McTavish with the red joker for 20 to 14, and the positive flip does severe damage of 6, so McTavish dies. Then the Damned leaps and passes with an 11, so he leaps over into the Bubble of Life. But Gigi activates and uses Toss in the Mud on Sophie. He wins 19 to 9 and pushes Sophie over. Then he discards a card for Ambush, and then he interacts to drop a scheme marker for mysterious reasons. Annika activates Sophie, who takes a walk action within Bad Juju's engagement range and walks once around him, and then uses Trampling Hooves against him. She hits with 13 to 9, but Stefan cheats for 13 to 14 and the attack fails. Then she uses her bonus action, Grab from the Pack on Jedza, and fails with a 4. But Annika cheats a 7 to pass and Jedza gets a focus. Stefan goes with the first mate, who takes a leap, fails with a 12, but Stefan cheats the 4 of Masks to succeeds, and then the first mate takes a double walk action and draws a card at the end of his activation for showboating. Because someone remembered it finally. Then the Moor Wraith activates and interacts to throw the Lodestone over to Tannenbaum and then takes a walk action. The Gatrobokor activates and uses Protective Spirits, passing with an 11. So the Mysterious Emissary gets a shielded. Then he uses Swamp Spirits versus the Damned, but fails 12 to 18. Then he tries to obey the Damned, using a glowy token for a mask. And Annika decides that the Damned wants to cut himself for 1 damage to flip that 13 again, so the obey fails 16 to 18. And then he uses Swamp Spirits again versus the Damned and again fails 12 to 18 because Annika flips yet another 13. So the said Bokor ends his activation. Annika activates Jedza, who uses a Very Road onto Tannenbaum, who takes a 3-inch move and then drops a ski marker. Then she uses Plenty of Wares on Sophie, passing with a 4. And Sophie heals by 3 to 5 health again. Then Jedza takes a walk action and then uses Lost Knowledge onto this corpse marker, failing with a 2, but Annika cheats a 6 to succeed, discarding the corpse marker and drawing 2 cards. The Mysterious Emissary activates and uses Roots from Below versus the Damned. He misses 12 to 13, but Stefan cheats for 18 to 13 to hit. The double negative flip draws the red joker for 4 blast damage. The blast damage drops another Hungry Land marker, and Stefan declares the quicksand trigger. She could not do because the emissary is still stunned from Mikhail's last Entomb shockwave. But we missed that while recording the video. So Mikhail takes the duel and fails with the black joker, and the damned fails with a 2, but Annika cheats a 10 for him to pass, so Mikhail gets slow and the damned does not. Tannenbaum activates, takes a walk action, concentrate action for a focus, and uses comprehensive notes on the first mate. Both use their focus, and Annika wins 19 to 14. So she again decides for Stefan to pull out his 4 13s and put them out of the game, putting them back in his discard pile at the start of the next round. Zoraida activates and uses Threads of Fate, so both players draw new hand cards, which you can now see. Then she uses Obey on the mysterious emissary and fails with a 5. Stefan cheats the 10 of masks to get the ensorcel trigger, the emissary relents and takes a double walk action. Then Zoraida uses an Obey on the Gatrobo core, passing with a 9. He relents and also takes a walk action forward. And lastly, she takes an Obey, drawing line of sight from the Gatrobo core onto Sophie. The duel ends 17 to 17 and she forces Sophie to take a walk action and walk right back to the spot where she started at the beginning of this round. Then Stefan discards a card to summon the Voodoo Doll and decides for Mikhail to get the Vanga Mojo Curse upgrade. Mikhail activates and charges, getting 1 damage from the hazardous terrain of the Hungry Land marker. And then he attacks the Gatrobo core. He misses 14 to 16, Annika cheats for 16 to 16, but Stefan decides to cheat 16 to 17 for the attack to fail. Then Mikhail uses Shrug Off, discarding a card to lose the slow, and attacks again using his focus. The attack hits 10 to 8, and the Gatrobo core cheats for 10 to 13, and Annika cheats 15 to 13 with the In Memoriam trigger. The straight flip does weak damage of 3, but Annika cheats moderate damage of 4, leaving the Gatro on 1 health left, and then the In Memoriam trigger allows her to look through the top 5 cards of her discard pile and put her most liked card back onto her fate deck. The Voodoo Doll activates and uses Jinx on Mikhail, fails 9 to 14. And then she charges off the rock, taking 4 damage, damaging herself and Mikhail by 1. And then Stefan decides that she served its purpose, kills her off and draws a card. The Grave activates and decides to stick with his tactic and take a double walk action towards Stefan's deployment zone. Summary of turn 3. McTavish got killed right at the start of round 3. The Raider still standing on a rock but getting more lonely by the minute. The Gatrobo core got very nearly killed by Mikhail. Jedza and the Moor Wraith are hanging out at the middle strategy marker. The Gravegoo decided to take another walk in the park and went towards Stefan's deployment zone. The mysterious emissary is trying to get towards Tannenbaum, while the first mate is trying to get away from Tannenbaum, it seems. And I've got the severe impression that Bad Juju is trying to pull something off with Sophie here on the top right side of the map. Points wise, both players have marked a second strategy marker. Stefan marked top right and bottom right, while Annika has already marked 3 strategy markers, top right, middle and top left. And at this point in time, nobody decides to declare a scheme. So we're jumping into round 4 in the hope that we will finally see a scheme declared in this game. Hand cards for the Zoraida crew in round 4, and Stefan uses another Soulstone to draw another 2 cards and discard 2 cards. And hand cards for the Jedza crew, and Annika does the same again, spending a Soulstone, drawing 2 cards, discarding 2 cards. Initiative flip for round 4. Annika wins with 10 to 8, but Stefan cheats in for 12 to 10 and decides that he wants to begin. He activates Bad Juju, who uses a charge action to get a Blade Rush damage onto Sophie from his upgrade. The Uprooted Fist attack versus Sophie hits with 10 to 6. Annika cheats for 10 to 13 and Stefan finally cheats for 16 to 30. And the double negative flip draws moderate damage of 4 and Sophie dies. After doing so, Stefan can finally declare that he has Deathbeds onto the strategy markers, so he gets a point for his first scheme. Then Bad Juju discards a 3 to ambush, move 3, and then takes another walk action towards the other side of the map. The Damned activates and leaps, taking 1 damage from the Hungry Land marker. Then he takes a walk action and then interacts to drop his scheme marker. Stefan activates the Raider, who uses Threads of Fate, so both players discard their hand cards and draw new hand cards. Then the Raider uses Obey versus the Damned. The duel succeeds 14 to 8. Annika cheats a 13 for 14 to 18, but Stefan just cheats an 11 of Mask for 18 to 18 with the Ensorcel trigger. He forces the damned to interact and remove the scheme marker he just dropped, and then forces him to charge Mikhail. Annika decides to relent on the attack, and the double negative flip draws the red joker, doing 7 damage to Mikhail and leaving him on hard to kill. Also, Stefan gets to push Mikhail. After this dramatic turn of events, Zoraida decides to use Hex versus Mikhail and wins 14-9. Annika cheats for 14-16 to save Mikhail, but Stefan cheats another 11 for 17-16. The negative flip though draws the black joker and does 0 damage. And then Stefan decides to switch targets and does a Hex versus the Damned. He hits with 16-13 and the double negative flip does moderate damage of 3, which kills off the Damned. And then he discards a card to summon the Voodoo Doll and give Mikhail the Vanga Mojo curse again. Annika activates Jedza, who uses Lost Knowledge on the Hungry Land marker and passes, so the Hungry Land marker gets discarded and Annika draws 2 cards. Then Jedza takes a walk action and uses Plenty of Wares on Mikhail, passing with a 13 of Rams with the extra supplies trigger and draws Severe for the heal, so Mikhail heals 4 and is at 5 health again. Then she uses Very Road on Mikhail, and Mikhail moves 3 towards Stefan's deployment zone and drops the scheme marker into base contact with himself. The Mysterious Emissary goes and activates the Aura of Deception, passing with a 5. He charges then into base contact with the strategy marker and Tannenbaum and hits Tannenbaum with his Tangling Roots, failing 7-19. He does it again and hits with 12-8, but Annika cheats for 12-15 and the attack ultimately fails. Tannenbaum activates and uses Ancient Words on the first mate, failing 13-15 but cheating 17-15 for a hit. The negative flip does severe damage of 5 and Stefan uses a Soulstone to prevent 1 damage, so the first mate takes ultimately 4 damage. Annika also had the Drawn to the Unknown trigger, so the first mate is forced to move 3 inches towards the strategy marker and then uses Butterfly Jump to move the 3 inches away again. Tannenbaum uses Ancient Words again, first mate uses his focus defensively, the attack fails 9-14 and the first mate gets to Butterfly Jump towards Annika's deployment zone. Lastly, Tannenbaum uses Comprehensive Notes versus the first mate and wins with 17-6. So again, all 13s are taken out of the discard pile and out of the game to be never seen again this game. The first mate activates and uses an interact action to throw the Lodestone token from Bad Juju to the Mysterious Emissary. Then he leaps and fails with the 1, but Stefan cheats the 3 of Mask to succeed. And lastly, he interacts to drop a ski marker into base contact with himself, and afterwards, of course, draws a card for showboating because he cheated during his activation. Mikhail activates and charges, then attacks the Bokor. He hits 11-10 and Stefan cheats for 11-16 and the attack fails. Mikhail uses My Father's Legacy and fails with the 2, but Annika cheats the 6 of Mask, so Mikhail gets a focus and also has the Cut Them Down trigger, so he can immediately use that focus to hit the Gatro Bokor. The duel succeeds 19-15, and the straight flip does weak damage of 3, which kills off the Bokor and lets Mikhail heal another 1 health. The Moorwraith activates his Chronicles and pushes 2 inches towards Mikhail. Then Mikhail uses his bonus action Shrug Off, discarding a 1 to get rid of the injured. Voodoo Doll activates, charges off the rock and takes 1 damage into falling, so Mikhail takes 1 damage too, and then she takes another walk action to stand in the way of Mikhail. The Moorwraith activates and takes a double walk action into Stefan's deployment zone. And last, the Gravegoo goes, drops a scheme marker, and then takes a walk action. Summary of round 4. We got a bit of a switcheroo going on, with the rest of the Jedza crew standing in Zoraida's deployment zone, and the other way around. Mikhail, the Moorwraith, and the Gravegoo on the bottom right side. Zoraida still standing on her rock, while Jedza is holding the middle. The Mysterious Emissary is taking his time with Tannenbaum, and Bajuju and the first mate are in Annika's deployment zone. Points-wise, we are looking at a 3rd point for Annika, because she already had 3 markers tagged by the end of round 3. And we are looking also at a 3rd point for Stefan, because he has now 3 markers tagged, because he managed to tag the top left marker this round. Stefan also declared that he had Deathbeds during this round when he killed Sophie, so he gets a point for declaring his scheme. And both players finally decide to declare that they have Breakthrough, so they both take away a scheme marker and get finally awarded with another point. The score at the end of round 4 is 5-4 in favor of Zoraida, and I see you in the final round. Hand cards for the Jedza crew round 5, and Annika decides to spend a stone because she has so many left. And here are the hand cards for the Zoraida crew, and Stefan can't stone because he has no stones left. Initiative flip for round 5. They draw 11 to 11 and the reflip draws the black joker to 3 and Annika decides for Stefan to begin. Stefan activates Bad Juju, who uses an interact action, then discards a card for ambush and uses another interact action to drop a second ski marker. Moorwraith goes, uses an interact action and then charges to attack the Voodoo Doll. He hits with 9 to 4. Voodoo Doll defends 9 to 11, but then he finally hits 13 to 11 and the negative flip does 1 damage. And Mikhail also gets 1 damage because of the Vanga Mojo Curse upgrade. First mate goes, interacts to drop a ski marker and then leaps and fails with a 10. Stefan decides that it's worth it to cheat the red joker. The first mate leaps over to the strategy marker and interacts to drop a ski marker and draws a card because of showboating, because he cheated during his activation. Gravecore activates, interacts to drop a ski marker into Stefan's deployment zone and then walks over to stand in the shadow where Zoraida can't see him. The Voodoo Doll decides to disengage. 4 vs defense duel ends 11 to 15, but Annika cheats for 15 to 15 and the double negative flip does weak damage, so reduces the disengage push by 2. The Voodoo Doll then charges Mikhail. The 4 vs defense duel fails 10 to 14. Annika activates Jedza. He uses a very road on Mikhail, so he moves 3 inches and drops his ski marker into base contact with himself. Then she takes a double walk action and uses Lost Knowledge on the ski marker next to the first mate. She also spends a stone for the Stay a While and Listen trigger. She fails with a 2 but cheats a 6, so she deletes the ski marker, draws 2 cards and gives the Mysterious Emissary staggered, who then promptly activates and takes a double walk action towards the middle strategy marker. Mikhail activates, takes a walk action and then uses an interact action to drop another ski marker. Zoraida activates and finally has to take a walk action. She uses then an obey on the Mysterious Emissary and uses that to walk the emissary into base contact with the middle strategy marker after cheating the 9 to pass the duel. And then she obeys the Moorwraith and wins with 18 to Black Joker, cheats for 17 to Black Joker with the Ensorcel trigger, and the Moorwraith walks over to his ski marker and sadly interacts to take it away. Last activation of the game because the rest did not make any sense anymore. Tannenbaum activates, takes a walk action and uses his tactical action Hazardous Topography on the ski marker next to Bad Juju. He passes with a 9 and so can't push the marker out of Annika's deployment zone, hindering Stefan from scoring the second point of breakthrough. Summary of round 5 and the end of game. Looks like the Jedza crew successfully spammed ski markers into the Raider's deployment zone, while the Raider tried to do the same with Jedza's deployment zone. The Mysterious Emissary walked towards the middle strategy marker and got obeyed to tag the middle strategy marker. There also has been some denial of schemes. The Moorwraith has been forced to take up his own strategy marker, which denied the second point of breakthrough on the Jedza side. What hasn't been denied though is the first point for Deathbeds. Annika has 2 ski markers within 2 inches of strategy markers on Stefan's table half, so she gets the reveal point for Deathbeds for 5 points. Stefan scores a point for the strategy because he has marked the 4th strategy marker, while Zoraida's final point for breakthrough has been denied by Tannenbaum heroically pushing the ski marker out of Jedza's deployment zone. Okay, this is the end of the game and the final score is 6 to 5 in favor of Zoraida. After a long day, it was a fun game. There were some strange decisions with cheating cards involved around some very unimportant duels in my opinion, but it was fun to watch and overall they made a good show of it. If you like our content, subscribe to our channel, hit the like button, hit the bell button to always be informed about our new content, and I see you at the next battle report here at the Hidden Breach.